have a solution. The Whine No Whine Show, where you can be friended and offended all in the same hour, where we gather people from all different walks of life and perspectives, and we talk about everything that everyone has told you not to. Religion, politics, and everything under the sun. Nothing is off limits, and we do it all over a glass of wine. So grab a glass and join us as we save America, one civil conversation at a time.
3, 2, 1, action!
Joe? Dude, you're live. You're totally...
We're frozen.
I've always wanted to do that. just a blank stare of like horror. What's wrong with Joe?
Just keep counting. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2,
Yes.
3, 4.
What's going on, Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and Periscope and Twitter and all the other platforms? We are on Twitch.
I didn't even know Twitch was a thing.
Twitch is a thing.
I
It's
thought
a
you
real
just
thing.
like combined two words on accident.
No,
and said
see,
Twitch.
I'm hip and cool. I know these things.
I'm twitching.
I thought you were a millennial. What?
I don't claim the status.
Grab
of being
her
a
millennial card. Please, just revoke it, please.
There you go.
I'll pretend.
We are on multiple platforms, so hello to all of you on all of those platforms. So, we have an empty chair. Jon Turnbow, who is on the show, was intercepted by the FBI, and he's in questioning right now, but he has assured us that it's a thing that will go away, and he'll be here shortly. So, I think the phones are blowing up behind the scenes. Is that the CIA again?
Scam likely.
Scam likely. Yes. Tell them I will call them back in my own time, sir. That's right.
I don't know.
Welcome to the show. What's going on, people? Okay, so we had the strangest period of voting on subjects before the show because everybody agreed. No, all the topics. Yep, we all agree. All right. So, I don't even know what we're talking about. We are talking about, we're going to talk about two things. We'll probably talk about two things. But we're going to start off with this one. It was like the most clear agreement, but there's nuances to this, and I really want you guys to chime in, and I'm going to give a couple examples to maybe kind of start stirring the pot a little bit. Today's subject is personal experience needed to properly debate a subject? I.e., abortion. You're not a woman. You don't possibly understand what it means to, have control over your own body, and so you have no right to talk about abortion and just shut up. I've been told that, right? Similarly, issues with racism. You haven't personally experienced racism, therefore you have no right to talk about racism. Pick a subject, it can go down the line. That's where we're at.
Careful.
Careful. Where you guys been?
He did his Kramer
It's all
entrance.
over for you.
Okay, see the tape on the floor there where the leg is? Yep, trying to line that up.
Hey, John's here, everybody.
Hey, John's here!
I got locked out of the bathroom.
See, I said the FBI was going to let him go.
They were the whole time.
It was not a big deal. It was not a big deal. So it's hard being Batman.
We're already sharing your wine.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's good. I'm a giver.
So listen to the thank
That's
you.
right.
There we
I
go.
watch it every day, and I'm like, this guy's got it together. I need to get rid of this hair. That's the problem with my life. It's holding me back.
Yes, at the very least, it creates more drag.
It does.
Right?
It does.
You run faster now.
But I'm still late.
You're still late. Right. Imagine how late he would have been if he had hair.
Right.
So, okay, so listen, we were debating topics before the show. I was just telling the audience here that we ran into a very unique problem in that every topic we all pretty much were on the same page with. So hopefully you'll be an unknown. All right. Yeah.
I think so.
Here's the first one.
I can tell you're already in here. We're going to disagree.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
Yes. So check it out. The first thing, we've got kind of a possible two-way, topic here today. The first part is personal experience needed to properly debate a subject? And i.e., I was just explaining to the audience here, catching Jon up for you guys. This is repeating the thing here, but for your sake.
Rewind, play.
Yeah, right.
We can drink our wine.
For example, I have been told this, right? When it comes to talking about abortion, right? Well, you're not a woman, and it's my body, and I'm a woman, and you don't have the right to tell me what your thoughts are on abortion because you're not a woman, right? Similarly, when it comes to issues with racism, our poor production guy is like having to ponder how to get the camera changed without walking in front of the cameras.
Yes, a little bit.
All right, so we'll get it.
See that second leg? Put it on that square.
Oh, gotcha.
What'd you say?
I will take this moment to drink wine.
Usually
All right.
Joe is a cat herder, but today it's just one big cat.
Today,
Yes.
we're hurting Joe.
Yes.
I think that.
So hang on.
I
got you.
I'm getting up to the
Absolutely.
speed on thinking about this issues with racism. You haven't. You're a white male. How dare you
I'm
even?
not white.
Okay.
This is actually a birthmark.
How dare you talk about issues with racism? You haven't personally experienced it, right? So, does a person have to have personal experience with a topic, whatever the topic might be, in order to really be able to dialogue about it, to have, a thought on the subject? That's what we're talking about today, guys. I'm going to get these guys' thoughts here shortly. I want you to chime in with that because please chime in because we really need some differing views on this that we can discuss. And we will absolutely bring your thoughts and comments into it during the show here. You're as much a part of the show as the guest
Makes
on
it
the
a
show.
lot more fun.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Let's hear from everybody.
Today we are drinking Spartan Hills Montepulciano,
You sound so good when you say that.
I like that one.
He practiced.
California. It's a Californian wine. After a crazy long Italian name like that, it's Californian wine.
That's how he dissuades guest hosts, is by picking all these wines that
Right.
have very difficult names.
I totally was going to do a show until he read the name of that wine.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't have a chance of doing that.
John had a hard one.
Montepulciano. So anyway.
You do that very well. You do
It's
that.
good.
Now, the Montepulciano grape is extensively cultivated in the Abruzzo region of Italy on the Adriatic coast east of Rome. But some imaginative American winemakers have discovered that it also feels right at home in California. So they're making it with more of a New World fruit flavor profile. While Italian wines generally offer aromas and flavors of earth, smoke, and leather, this version is full and delicious fruit. There's mouth-filling blackberry pie, so like
I can
taste
taste
for the
that.
Totally.
blackberry pie, a hint of baking spice and brown sugar, black cherry, and a smooth, round sensation on the palate. The wine is medium-bodied with low tannins and satisfying finish. So we will be rating that wine at the end of the show, and we'll have a rating up on Instagram tomorrow. So make sure you follow the Wine to Wine Show on Instagram, where we post all sorts of really cool pictures and whatnot that are unique to the page over there. So, thoughts on this subject? We're gonna now jump in and since you had the last to
I'm
arrive.
ready to
Well,
rock.
I'll start with
I
Kate.
like this ladies first. Manners make men. I've always
there
been
you
that
go.
way.
So I'm
Very
gonna start with the ladies over here today, and I'm gonna let them give their thoughts. You guys chime in with yours.
Getting opinions?
Yes.
Or
So
introduce
1 minute.
ourselves?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, I didn't mean to like.
No.
We can skip that. I mean, that's
No,
okay.
that's thank you. Give me your introduction and shameless plug. Let us know
Good
who you
job,
are.
Kate.
Thank you.
I'm
Good catch.
playing co-host here.
I know.
I'm Kate Davis. I'm with Crescent Creative Group. That's my graphic design and branding firm, and that's also my extremely short plug. Boom. We're on Facebook.
And does exceptionally well. I taught her everything she knows.
He taught me a lot, actually.
Me
Quite a
and
bit.
the Art Institute.
The artist who taught more, but you taught a lot.
All right, Eileen.
I'm Eileen, and right now I'm a world traveler. So my plug is always travel.
Blue-gray.
And we all called each other to wear blue.
I know. I was just saying we all got the
fabulous.
blue memo. This is so good.
I had
Wow.
red on, so something, I
Something
figured
told you
I
to
would do
change.
blue.
Yeah.
So follow me on Instagram,
This is the
and
only clean shirt.
someday I'll be
Trippin'
famous.
Eileen on
Trippin'
Instagram.
It's not
_
good.
Eileen.
Let's say it
So
wrong.
that's really only my thing, and it's all travel. So go there.
Very cool.
Mr. Pipkin.
David Pipkin, returning guest. I teased a few of you this week. I guess I posted it Wednesday or Thursday, Thursday, whatever it was, because the days are all running together
I
at
think it was
this
Wednesday.
point.
Big
Yeah,
announcement.
would have been big announcement. As of this week, I am now
announcing
officially,
his candidacy for president.
No, it's even better.
Oh wow! All right.
I'm waiting for that.
No, really,
I really am. I would believe him too. I'd be like, knew it.
I'm not sure how to take that. Actually, is that a compliment? Is that? Well, I appreciate that.
I wouldn't tell nobody that I was.
What's your secret?
When he said earlier, I'll disagree with David. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm here for, is to change your mind. You know.
Right. What's your secret? You're keeping us all in suspense.
Okay. So I have accepted. I was invited to be the Harris County coordinator for the Constitution Party. So
cool.
Constitution Party is now live and well in Harris County. If you are interested, and if you listen, I want to say this. One of the things we do on this show is to encourage people to dialogue about all the things we're not supposed to talk about, right? One of those things is politics. The other of those things is religion. And there's a big reason why those two things are mentioned, because our founders didn't really distinguish between the two, right?
Right.
So if you feel like you're like not as involved politically, we want to talk to you. I mean, we're not looking for experts, just like the show. We're not looking for experts. We're looking for citizens who care about their country, who care about our heritage, and who care about the rights that our founders granted us in those founding documents and preserving this constitutional republic. And you don't have to be an expert to do that. I just gave away my position on the show too, didn't I?
Oh, man.
Hashtag David Pipkin, Constitution Party, Constitutionist.
There'd be a twist in
Wait,
it.
are those all 3 hashtags, or is that all one long hashtag?
I'd go and go one long hashtag.
Well, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah. That way, when they
That is
type
actually
it,
my stripper name.
it bleeds over to the second line. See? All right, John, go ahead. Take it away.
And by the way, you made me think of a great subject for a show, which would be
This show?
For
Today?
this show, yeah. Yeah, right. Is there really 2 parties? I think that would be.
We'll talk about that today.
Yeah, right. I think that'd be a great topic for debate, especially with like a Steve on the show, or anybody from that type of
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So anyway,
I
on
want
to
to
the
cheers to that. So
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Clinkable
Thank you
moment,
for your
moment.
service, sir.
I do.
Stepping up.
I'm Jon Turnbow, aka Rockstar John. I'm a return guest. I just want to throw back real quick. I do music, so most of my days are filled with dancing with my girl and playing for kids and having a great time. So I don't really involve myself in too deep of the politics and the discussions. But this guy right here, I disagree with everything he says, but he does so in a way. He does so in a way that like he actually you can actually hear what he's saying. So I'm really happy that you're rocking with that, man. Half the problem in the country, half the problem with the country is that too many people are too busy like enjoying what we're doing and the life that we've been given, but not wanting to get involved. And I think he's saying wanting people to get involved.
That, sir, is a clinkable moment. That is absolutely a clinkable moment.
How do you clean up Jon Turnbow? There
It
it goes. Over the fence.
Bases are loaded.
Very
Jon
nice.
Turnbow steps up to bat. Oh, it's over the fence. Yeah.
On a side note, though, I do have a new album coming out. It's called Peace in the Pain.
It's called Over the Fence?
Cosmic and Timid Records. No, that's coming out later. That's the EP.
Okay.
No, should be out there. I got shows coming on Scout Bar. As far as like plugs, you can Google me, Rockstar John. No HJON. I make it really easy. My Instagram. You can find me Facebook, Instagram, Tinder, FarmersOnly.com. No, not really. I'm gonna take it, but like I mean, it's really easy. Just
FarmersOnly.com.
follow the sound of applause and the smell of tequila, and you're gonna find me.
I like it.
Oh, yeah.
This is your camera.
So,
hey, what's up?
That's your camera.
I was wondering. I was
hey,
like,
camera, what's going on?
you.
Hey, I wanted to tell you something. A thought occurred to me that I think you're going to
I'm
enjoy.
flirting with her. Like if
we
I
ever
was
start-
direct, then she wouldn't want to talk to me. But since I'm talking to this camera over here, then she's gonna give me more.
That camera wants him more now. Yeah. He's playing hard to get with
I
that
see
camera.
you.
Just relax.
Yeah.
I see you.
If we ever start a Whine No Whine Show band, I've already thought of the name and the first 2 albums.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So the name of the band is 531. The 531 band.
Yes.
Okay. Guess
The
the show
bathroom
will understand,
code.
right? Yeah, the 531 band. The
That's
first
genius,
album,
by the way.
The
That's
first
great.
album will be Gotta Go. Right? and the second album will just be 2. Number 2.
I'm going to be the lead on the first one. Gotta go. That's me.
Yeah.
I'll be the lead on that one.
That's
I've
awesome.
been locked out so many
I
times.
can't sing
We're
that
gonna do
because
it.
the potty goes really
It's
well.
gonna happen.
I disappeared for half an episode outside
Yeah.
trying to knock on and get back in the bank, and everybody's like, I was like, do I look like a bank robber? And they were like,
Wow.
I was like, I mean, well, come on. If I was a bank robber, I was really good because they let me in there.
They did.
I was holding a guitar and I was like, come on.
Sure, it's a guitar. Sure, it's a guitar.
It's loaded.
Okay, we have like made no progress on the subject at all.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But that was a really funny moment on the show. John's gone forever, and we're like, I'm fuming. Like, where's John? I can't believe he's locked out of the building.
All right, I have to say this. I'm gonna make this quick. Okay, I don't understand why a bank locks itself down and then internally locks the bathroom down too. So it's like if somebody breaks into the bank to rob them, you just want to make sure they don't get to go to the restroom on the way out. Like, we're already locked down, like secured. You know, why do you got to lock the bathroom too? Like, and there's nobody here.
Things that make you go,
Y'all just keep talking. I'm good.
Somebody robbed the bank. Somebody robbed the bank.
Can I get my opinion and get
Yes,
the show going?
yes.
Okay.
All right, so
What's
for
our
those who
topic?
have forgotten, since it's been like an hour since we
forgot.
started, do you have to have personal experience to discuss a subject, i.e. abortion? You're not a woman. You can't talk about abortion, i.e. you're not, Icelandic, so you can't talk about Icelandic issues.
Icelandic tacos.
Icelandic tacos, right, exactly.
I think there needs to be some, and when I say some, I mean like this much factual understanding. I have no idea what the heck's going on in Iceland, so I can't even form an opinion on it. But that being said, I shouldn't give an opinion that I can't form myself. So I think that you don't have to be an expert. You have to be able to form an opinion, and you have to have that underlying characteristic. Is that a good word to put there? You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion. I think that you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know, like, you don't have to gone to school for the topic to form an opinion, but you have to have the ability to form the opinion. And I didn't say any of that to the camera. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, you good.
I said all of that to.
That's perfectly okay.
That's actually.
You were mesmerized by my wine pool.
I was legit watching you pour
It's just
wine.
right.
She wanted to make sure it was.
Right, man.
She wanted to make sure it was
Not
fair.
even. I know. Wait.
It is from here.
Yes. All right. So talking to the guests is fine. If you talk to a camera, talk to your camera.
My camera. I'm not going to talk to you.
Right, not you.
We're not on speaking terms.
Not
Talk
you.
to my camera.
Hey.
We're not on speaking terms.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you.
Yes, you're literally giving it your cold shoulder. Right?
Hey.
She doesn't have a cold shoulder.
They're both warm.
Oh.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
warm.
All right.
So I agree with her for the most part.
Yeah,
you
we
know,
already already figured this out before the show.
We all agree pretty
Everybody
much.
agrees.
But you know what happens?
Wait for it.
I travel. You know, I have been to Iceland, by the way, last
Oh,
year.
that's so cool.
And it's beautiful, and you know nobody really has that big of an opinion on Iceland. But when you say you're going to Pakistan or one of the stands, if you're going to Kyrgyzstan, first thought I get
Pakistan.
everybody hates you, everybody wants to kill you. And I've been to many third world countries. I've been to El Salvador. I've been to some other places, Suriname and Guyana.
Killed people in all those places.
And some are slightly more dangerous, but people they hear it. Somebody else said it, and so their opinion is, I heard it, somebody else said it, so this is true, or the media is projecting something. But when I go to these countries, they love us, but their media tells them what they think we believe. So it's really funny to go to one of these countries, and people have their opinions on traveling, and it's usually 100% false. You can't get in.
I read it on the internet. It must be true.
Yes, all right. They saw. Okay. Perfect example. There's a bombing in Turkey, and I've been to Turkey and Istanbul. Beautiful place. There was a bombing. 3 people died. Okay, well, how many? I don't remember how many people died in Vegas. Who didn't go to Vegas that same week that had a trip planned? Everybody still went to Vegas.
Well,
They
our
didn't
country's
shut
dangerous.
Vegas
I mean,
down.
everybody knows that. You can't take the wrong turn off of Ella. That's like
Right.
10 miles down the road, without it being
Right, but
dangerous.
we're not saying it's not safe to travel in America, even though it kind of is. It's more
There's no
unsafe
kind of about it.
to
Depends
travel.
where you go, too.
Yeah.
But people's minds tend to be like, well, it's going to happen, but
That's a
they
media
will
concern.
still go.
I think they feel like my concern, which I've traveled through Europe, but it was all like big places. So but my concern with travel was not that it would be dangerous, because I know it's dangerous to travel anywhere, because people are people wherever we go. Is the targeted thing? It's the fact that you're not in a place where you're from, so you would feel like I don't personally feel like I'd be targeted. I'm targeted
you
everywhere I
would
go.
in-
It's the way I am.
You
but
would in some countries.
I would feel like I would be targeted because I'm American, but
That has happened as well, but it's not.
I have no
as
experience.
All
prevalent.
right, so you're sum up, where you're standing on this.
You have to have some knowledge to at least, everybody's got an opinion, and it might be based on media, but yes, you should have some knowledge, or at least you're going to hear it.
Okay, so let me ask you a clarifying question,
All
because I'm still not clear on this.
All right.
Knowledge, you can have knowledge without, I can have knowledge about Iceland without ever having been to Iceland.
Where did Iceland come from?
Are you, I just use it as an
I love
obscure-
your idea, but
Random.
that's like the randomest thing, like
Yes.
Iceland.
That's the point.
You haven't tried his Icelandic tacos?
Right. My Icelandic
I've
tacos are to
experienced.
die for.
They're made out of whale meat, by the way.
Yeah, right. It's all
Why I
blubber.
want them.
It's all blubber.
Yeah,
That's the healthy fats.
Somebody
That's
call
the
it
healthy
It's a healthy fat, yeah. Full of omega-3s.
Exactly.
And 5s.
Full of something.
It's full of something.
Okay, so
All right. So, knowledge. I can have knowledge about Iceland and never been to Iceland, right?
Right.
So, are you saying knowledge but meaning experience? So, are you saying
No,
that I
there's
need to
book
have
knowledge.
traveled to this place to really be able to...
In some ways, yes, because the people are always different than what you read about or what somebody tells you, unless you're talking to somebody who is literally just there and can comment on personal experience. Then you could have some knowledge. But if you're reading a book, or you go online and you see some things about Iceland or, Pakistan or whoever we're talking about, you're gonna get opinions, but you probably want to listen to somebody who's actually been there and done that.
So it sounds like you're saying experience is equal to knowledge. I just want to
In
make sure.
this instance, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that you're really kind of coming down on the fence of you need to have some experience in order to be able to talk about it.
I guess so, yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's cool.
It
David.
comes down to it.
Well, there's another nuance to this, because a lot of the I think all the examples you named were examples of what we know as identity politics, right? You can't speak on a subject unless you are the person affected, or at least the same racial description or gender description, or whatever it might be. But I've seen it applied. By the way, am I here, or does it matter?
Right now, I have everybody in discussion.
Okay.
You're
but
either
right,
center or there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but this is you.
We're all learning this, guys. But so,
Some of us are.
Yeah.
But for everybody that didn't set the cameras up,
Some of us are a little slower.
Yeah.
We are learning. It's not at the same pace. All right. So some of the discussions, and what really, as the Texas phrase, sticks in my craw, right, is when people say, you disagree with a politician or a Supreme Court justice, someone of large notoriety or who's acclaimed for knowledge, but you have an honest difference of opinion on a subject, and even though you can present a well-informed opinion, the comeback is, and we see it on social media all the time, oh, what, you think you know more than fill in the blank with the name, Barack Obama was a constitutional scholar, except he wasn't, but you know more than him, or you know more than this Supreme Court. Well, guess what? The Supreme Court has had rulings throughout the ages that there's ample reason to disagree with, ever since the time of our founding. So, that's what gets me is the disqualifying of an opinion because you're not an expert. I will actually agree with Eileen on this point, and then I'll wrap this part up, in that, I've experienced that. Speaking of Texas again, I know when I first went in the military, I met a guy who was from Minnesota, and he goes, "You're from Texas?" And I said, "Well, shoot, son, we don't all talk like this." Right? Because their version of Texas is everybody's
Right.
got a horse, and you got an oil well in the backyard,
And
and
where's
everyone
your
wears a
hat?
cowboy hat, and you wear your guns and your holsters, right? And,
That's what everybody
it is, I'll grant you, Texas is different. It is a different experience. And so to Eileen's point, I think
huge.
that if you haven't experienced Texas, there is no way to convey good knowledge to someone, to have a working knowledge that would help them to be here. You just kind of have to be here, So I do take your point in that regard, but I think the topic is more about qualification of a disagreeing opinion or a counter viewpoint based on you don't have a PhD behind your name, or you didn't go to the right school, or whatever it might be. Is that?
I mean, it depends on the subject. We said racism, abortion,
Travel.
gay or transgender rights. I mean, pick any kind of a topic of the day right now that's a heated topic, and you will find a person in the camp that's arguing you're not insert whatever the subject is, so therefore you have no right to talk about it.
So shut up. We don't want to hear what you have to say.
And it's you properly identified that as identity politics. I mean, like, you don't have the identity of whatever the subject is, therefore you have no right to discuss it.
Well, I'm not a serial killer either, but I mean, I'm not going to speak on it.
Yeah, so...
but that's a really good point,
But you
though.
have an opinion,
Thank you. Every once in a while it happens.
No, that's a good point, because, and I know you still need to give your opinion, but being that you're not a serial killer, but that doesn't mean that you can't form the opinion that serial killing is wrong. So
my favorite example is I don't need to play in the freeway to be able to have an opinion that it's dangerous.
Right, exactly. That's where...
I can use common logic and reasoning skills to figure things out.
Though.
Yeah, but
nobody wants to play.
But it's like a very
that's
basic...
It's a scalable argument.
Yes.
It's a scalable argument. The same reasoning and logic skills that I would use to apply to the idea that playing in the freeway is dangerous is the same logic and reasoning skills that I would have used to approach the subject of abortion, the subject of racial issues, the subject of transgender or gay rights issues. I'm going to apply logic and reason, which is based on facts and gathering data. So, and sometimes, in fact, I may be more skilled in arguing the point because I'm not inside the subject, and I have more objectivity sitting on the outside and just looking at the data without a bias. So
you were late,
anyway.
so you have to give your opinion late because you were late.
So
guys, I'm not
26 minutes
We're
in.
like halfway through the show already.
Yeah,
this is,
Go ahead.
What are your thoughts, guys? We're gonna get John's thoughts now.
We have an argument and a discussion and a debate and something. There's two different things. There's emotion that comes. I might not have experience on things, but I can still debate them as long as I have knowledge. You know, like there's so much free flowing knowledge nowadays that I can pretty much I can go toe to toe with a lot of different subjects that I've never had experience on. I can feel very strongly and very emotional about things that I've never been through, just because you can't tell me how to feel. People feel the way that they want to. So do you need to have experience to properly debate something? Absolutely not. You just need to have the time and you need to have the time and you need to have the knowledge to be able to do that. Now, to fully understand something, that's different. You said, you might know that, you might never had an experience, in playing in traffic, but you know that it's dangerous. But do you know how dangerous it is? I bet you if you got hit by a car, 2 or 3 times in traffic, you would step a little lighter when you went into that dangerous situation.
Stop playing Frogger on the freeway.
But I think
technically I have been hit by a car, actually
7 times.
3 times, 3 different times.
That's what that traffic thing hit me. I've been hit 7 times in life.
Wow.
And then 4 of them were by trucks.
Got me beat.
A rollover like Terminator style.
Yeah.
So when I tell you don't walk down Sorter's Road, with a
no joke, right?
They mean, you could be all the way over. I've had a drunk lady go over like the median and hit me in McDonald's parking lot. Like it's beautifully blessed. But I can say, okay.
He has a zest for life.
I am not walking down the street with him.
Why? I'm the perfect person to walk down the street with. It ain't gonna hit you.
He has the experience.
Just keep a safe distance.
Plus,
just keep a safe distance.
I'll walk you through putting my rib back. Like whatever to call it. No, but
just keep a car links from him. Yeah.
You have I have certain subjects that I have subjects that I can't. I have so much experience in that it almost makes me unable to debate, because I think it works the opposite. In some situations, like you think that because you have experience that you have more grounds to argue around, but with experience comes an emotion from that personal experience. So an emotion clouds judgment. So that's why we have politicians, we have people up there that know I don't think that half the senators that we have that are voting on have been through any of the stuff that we're talking about. Half of them probably, haven't gone through, what it's like to struggle like making food and have to get food stamps or have to have, or have to depend on, Medicaid for stuff. Half of them haven't, but because of that, that doesn't make them less able to debate the subjects. All they need is the knowledge. Somebody that has might have a little bit more emotion behind it because they have anger or they have frustration, which causes their judgment to be clouded. So I might run across the street together. You have more likely of a chance of getting across because you haven't been hit, even though you know it's dangerous and you have the knowledge of knowing that traffic is bad and that you can get hurt. But because I have all the experience in the world, I might stutter. That emotion behind that might cause me to be a little bit jaded.
That's
Good
actually
point.
that's
That's a very
actually
good
an
point.
excellent point, and that was kind of what I was getting at when I was talking to Eileen about objectivity. So I'll kind of pose that question. How, do you think for those who, in our viewing audience, or if you guys have any bit of this, who hold the opinion that you do need to have experience, do you think that there are instances where, playing the freeway, that's, you just gave this example, instances where having experience with a subject would actually hinder your ability to make a logical, reasonable
I would say
argument?
better than playing traffic. I was part of an episode we did #MeToo, and I would say somebody that has been assaulted would feel almost objectively like hindered by being able to comment on the subject when it comes to like the laws and the criminality of it, because anybody that's ever had that happen to them is going to be hang them, burn them to like they, of course, because they have. But then the way I teach my kids, we have a superhero mentality. I don't believe the reason I don't believe in the death penalty is because I believe that we're supposed to be different and show something different. Superman never came in and killed the people because they were doing bad. He was trying to be. He couldn't do it becoming. But that being said, if somebody had hurt my family or something like that, if I do in that situation, I'll be the first one to take their life. But I don't want to live in a society that fuels that. I want them to be better. So that's what no. I'm gonna go with no. You don't need experience to properly. Maybe to understand it on an emotional level, but you don't need emotions to argue.
Okay, so I think we almost we were the only one with a little bit of a nuance to it, with saying that experience for you there was some degree of experience that had to be had in order to have knowledge on the subject
And opinions.
that was your
really.
take. But other than that, most everyone was in the same position. So I'm kind of posing another argument or a question to this and saying, do you feel like that there are instances where personal experience, like you were just reflecting on with the hashtag #MeToo, actually detracts from your ability to make a cogent or salient, logical, whatever you want to call it, reasonable argument, where because of the personal experience, perhaps it was such a traumatic or emotional experience that it clouds how you see the subject.
Can I jump in for a second? Because I think I can, instead of, I'll give you a real example of someone that I encountered through a conversation about this, and it's a very popular narrative because one of the examples you gave earlier dealt with, someone who says, well, you're white, you can't understand what it is to be a minority in America, you can't understand the black experience or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. I actually had a fantastic conversation with this guy who was relating an experience to me of a time that he got pulled over by a police officer, and he said I was racially profiled. And I started asking about the situation. And he says, now I don't doubt that it's happened, okay? I don't doubt that he has other experiences, but this is to your point. He describes the situation. He's driving down the road, he's driving a maroon sedan, right? He's a 30-something tall black guy, right? And he gets pulled over. And through the course of the stop, he finds out that the police there's been reported of some kind of robbery or some suspicious activity, and the description of the suspect is black male, around 6 feet tall, around 25 to 30 years old. At the time he said he was 35. And so his whole point was to say, I didn't fit the description. I'm not 6 feet tall, I'm 6'3". My car wasn't purple. They were looking for a purple sedan. It was maroon. And I asked him the question, I said, hold on a minute. If you were a police officer, you're telling me you wouldn't have stopped you? Right? You're close to the age range. One thing that police officers know is that witness descriptions can vary greatly.
Yeah.
So if you're anywhere in the ballpark, they're probably going to stop you. How many purple sedans do you know of? I only know of one car that was ever made in the last 20 years that was purple. It was a Dodge Neon, right?
Challengers.
The
Just
Challengers
saying.
too. Okay.
Yeah, they do.
But the point is this
Still
was
Dodge.
this
It
was
was
a
still
purple, right? And I can
Yeah.
picture the police
Yeah.
officer saying,
Maroon is like purple.
hey, the person who gave the description described a purple sedan. We stopped yours because it's maroon. I know it's not purple, but
Yeah.
the description makes sense. And it actually made him think. And I pointed out, I think that's a time where your experience, maybe there were 50 other times
That
you
were
were
real.
actually racially profiled.
Right.
But that one, I got to give the benefit of the doubt to the police officer. Can you see that? And that
Just
does
to
that
check
make
it
your
out.
point?
I mean,
Yeah.
They didn't beat him down, right?
The rate I would say would become after you pull them over, and it's like, okay,
Right.
well, you're not the person, but get out of the vehicle. What do you have?
Right. Well, it makes
That
me
would be
wonder.
racial profile.
It makes me wonder how many times a black person has an experience where they see someone checking them out at a store, or they catch someone looking at them in a way that makes them uncomfortable, and they automatically interpret it as if it's some type of profiling.
From our point of view.
Right. We see it
And
from
a
based
lot
on
of times, like,
experience.
you
Based
know,
on experience.
And I've heard this where where my question was coming from was in the religious arena. I'm very talkative when it comes to faith and bringing up that subject. If
Hell
you could,
yeah, that was a cheers moment. But
yeah, we're out.
Yeah.
But we have mine out here. So look,
What is
here we
my
go.
problem?
Here we go.
think
Remember
Take
your
it slow.
remember your rating, by the way. Get your rating in your
I
head.
still have some.
I've talked to a lot of people where they had an experience with a church where they were like,
Right.
the preacher was just this horrible human being and he did X, Y, and Z, or my parents were horrible human beings and they did X, Y, and Z, and therefore I
So all Christians are
yeah, exactly. So
horrible.
I've left church because all those Christians are all blah blah blah.
Right.
And
all hypocrites.
it's all from a personal experience that's then extrapolated to all experience, and it only becomes worse when there's more than one experience. So now I've experienced 3 churches. And 3 churches, I had similar experiences, and so I've left all churches, and off we go.
I can relate
right?
to that.
So,
I can.
Totally relate
so-
to
It's
that.
a hospital. For people
So-
who don't, not for people who know.
so my point is that personal experience then clouds objective reasoning for the whole. I.e., I'll give you an example. Ask the average person what they think the molestation rate is among Catholic priests.
Right.
If you ask them, they're all of them are a bunch of pedophiles.
Mhm.
It's like it's just rife with
Convicted
it.
or
And it's
accused.
like not even
There's
10% of the
difference
overall population.
Yeah, in reality, there's a percentage of the male population that are pedophiles, and that percentage is very consistent across multiple different cultures and all that sort of thing. And within the Catholic Church, the percentage is almost identical.
minuscule.
It's almost identical.
I thought it was 10%.
It's lower.
10%.
It's lower.
It's actually lower.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, but the percentage of
It's not gonna
in
make an
reality
argument,
is
though,
not
because
even
it's in an
10%.
environment.
Right.
People
No,
talk
no,
about
I'm
it,
saying.
it doesn't get
Hold on. So
exposed.
we clarify this point. I'm saying if you look at the percentage of the population of the male population that are pedophiles, and compare the percentage of the Catholic priest population that are pedophiles,
Yep.
the percentage is far lower among Catholic priests. That's what I've seen.
Yeah,
you would
th-
say
so-
that's what you've seen, but you would say that are pedophiles. But what percentage of Catholic priests are pedophiles that we don't know are pedophiles?
Well,
If
that's-
it's in an
that's-
But yeah, but
That's
that
also
applies.
true.
I'm just saying,
But that applies
but
to the
that's
general
also true to
population.
the general
I
population.
think that exactly, but I think that it's more of a breed that unfortunately, and I'm a God-fearing love. I'm not a God-fearing. I'm a God-loving man, and I don't step foot. I haven't been to church in a long time, and I have.
We're gonna change that, brother.
Well, come on, brother. I wouldn't go for my mom.
Let's
out
go.
here. But not because I have anything against the people in the church or have any idea against
You
the
just like
idea
sleeping
of
in
the
on
church.
Sunday?
No,
I hear
There
David's
is
voice
that.
get into my head.
I actually have nothing against church. I just
I think
like to
church is a
sleep
great
late.
thing. I think it's a great thing for a lot of people, and I think that just the environment. I'm real. It's hard for me to sit still for too long and keep my mouth shut. Obviously, it inspires. It's just not my scene. But I've had church. I've had church at a bar. I've had church at a
Right.
teachers' parent conference. I've had church at shows, many different shows. I've had church at after parties. Anytime you discuss, your faith and in a way that you're sharing it, and you're oh, I got goosebumps. Thank you for, anytime that you're feeling it, God's everywhere. And I just feel like, unfortunately, in this time and at this time in my personal experience, there's a lot less God in church than there should be. And a lot more of people wanting.
Almost making my point.
And
That's right.
Yes, about personal experience clouding objective.
yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
So
definitely.
the stat, and I've looked it up just a few weeks ago, but I've since forgotten the actual numbers. But basically, it was about 8% of the male population ends up being a pedophile, and in the Catholic Church, it was like 6%.
Okay, I
So
thought it was even lower.
8% of like
the general male population.
that is insane.
Yeah,
it is
It
insane.
is.
Like-
It is.
It's kind of
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah, it's
actually.
horrible. Yeah, I talk about the
I
first
didn't
That's a
know
person.
chemical. That should be treated as. I mean, I'm
Talk about the first person I would go Batman on.
Yeah.
Would, that.
Well, but
they-
that's saying
It's
they
same
make
thing
it-
with
somebody-
the daughter.
They make the
that's
top of the
also-
list.
But
They
you got to
make the
look
top
at it
of
like
the
that.
list.
Somebody that's attracted to a child is clearly
Needs a bullet.
Definitely doesn't need. Well, he needs a bullet. I won't say
Just
a bullet.
take 'em out of
I wouldn't
society.
have a bullet, but they need to be either a bullet or they need to be taken out of society in general because you shouldn't be attracted to a child.
No.
Nature
yeah.
comes in and causes
Yeah.
women to be beautiful.
Yes.
If you see,
So, without getting
You're
too
crazy.
Without getting too lost in
Yeah.
that, we've got to go to a sponsor thing,
Yeah,
and
we're supposed to be giving her examples
I
to answer a
know.
question, so
Right.
we're hung up on that
so
point right now.
just to let you
You're
guys
on
know,
deck.
we have the topic that we're discussing and trying to really get to the nuances of is personal experience really necessary in order to debate a subject? And with a little kind of a caveat thing, do you think it's possible that personal experience can actually take away objectivity and negate your ability to actually debate a subject?
And I have
Chime
been
in.
wondering what's going on in the comment
Yeah.
feed. I
Chime
can't wait
in
to
with
see
your
this.
thoughts
That's
on
gonna be
this.
interesting.
We're gonna take a break right now to go for one of our sponsors. It's 1 minute, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Right
Really
in.
cool though. It's really cool
Right us
commercials.
in.
Yeah, and this
it's
is
not a commercial. It'll change your life.
this.
Yes. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Yes.
This could be your moment.
Yeah, especially the last 3 seconds. So
That's
we're
my-
gonna have a word
That's
from our
genius.
sponsor, Dean DeBasey. But stick around because when we come back, our production team has picked out some of their favorite comments for us to address here on the show. So you're gonna want to hang out and see if it's your comment, and we'll hit into the commercial right now. Hey everybody, Joe Orsak, host of the Whine No Whine Show. And I'm here with my special new guest, Dean DeBasey, brand new sponsor of the Whine No Whine Show. Can't wait till he gets to tell you all about himself.
Hello everyone, my name is Dean DeBasey and I'm with First Choice Loan Services. We close all of our loans on time. We have great rates and low fees, and we have push button get mortgage. All right, just kidding. In all seriousness, folks, we are a boutique mortgage lender, and we lend in 49 states. We choose not to play in the commoditized lending world, such as push button get mortgage. There is no such thing.
Hey everybody, this is Paul Compton with JLA Realty, Houston's fastest growing real estate team, and I'm very pleased to announce that I'll be opening a new office in Spring, Texas. One of the things that I depend upon with my business is being able to refer my clients to a lender that I can trust, because that can be the difference between them being able to buy the home of their dreams or not being able to buy a home at all. So, I've always referred my clients to Dean. He always takes care of them. If you're thinking about getting a home loan, do not go with one of the big guys where you're just going to be a number. Give Dean and his team a chance.
I am a certified mortgage planning specialist. Less than 1% of all your originators have that designation. So, if you are seeking a mortgage and would like to experience a true boutique mortgage experience, please call the number below or go to DeBaseyLoans.com. Let us show you why First Choice Loan Services is leading the mortgage lending industry.
All right,
Sick of all the
guys.
whining. I'm out of here.
In between, we were just fighting. There was crazy madness, and
I got shanked.
the show was.
Somebody came in the
Me
door.
again.
It was
Right.
me.
I got hit by a car.
I got hit by a car in
The show was spicier in that 1 minute than it was the whole time before.
Right,
So
right.
I think we got some embers burning. I
Right,
think
right.
there's going to be some good comments.
Right, this show may have taken a
Come
minute
on,
to
Ashley.
get
You can do it.
Get going. So we got some comments to address. We want to see who the thoughts are, or what your thoughts are from our guest.
Virgil!
First of all, thank you guys for staying with us and watching that little commercial. Dean DeBasey is an awesome home loan guy, and he helps make the show possible. He puts his money where his beliefs are. He believed in this idea of the show, and I can't tell y'all how much that means to me when I get people that really step up financially and they believe in the vision and the mission of the show. So.
You
Anyway,
rock, Dean.
here we go. Virgil Robinson. Virgil is a multi-time guest on the show. He's an amazing photographer. Check his stuff out. He's on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. Very cool cat. He said, Absolutely not. As long as there is mutual respect, any informed person should be able to give and have a position to speak on any subject. He is agreeing with us. So,
Well, the
Mostly,
key
yeah.
to
Mutual
be devil's
Actually, they
advocate,
were all over the place.
mutual
Not
respect.
to be devil's advocate, he said any informed person, and that's the crux of what we're talking
Exactly.
about.
That's what we're
Are you
discussing.
informed?
I think
Right.
there's a word switch in what we're asking, though. To debate and to understand are two different things. To understand, I think experience is necessary because you understand more of it.
That's a
but
good
to
point.
debate it, no. You have the information. The debate shouldn't be about formed by emotion.
Well, to that point, though, I think it's important if you're going to engage in an exchange of ideas, it's important to point out your limitations. I think there's too many people who are afraid to admit they don't know something, right? To say, hey, here's what I think,
Right.
but I don't know about this, right? And state your limitations so
It's
you're
freestyle.
open to learning, right?
So was the original
And-
question about debate,
It was
right?
a debate.
The original question that we posed.
It's just, no, it's in sharing views,
No,
right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get hung up on the word debate. It really was, am I
I feel like that's
entitled?
worth
That's
clarifying.
word.
That's worth
Yeah.
clarifying.
Do I have the right to jump into a conversation if I haven't experienced abortion? If I haven't, if I'm not a woman, do I have the right to,
Okay. So it's not per se debate; it's more discuss.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just.
Do I
yeah,
have the
yeah.
right to chime in?
Yeah. Do I
Well,
have a right to
but
chime
listen,
in?
everybody's got a
but
right.
if you offer your thoughts, this was the other side of what I was going to say, is that you also, I think, we talked about labels very early on in season 1, from almost the beginning.
Right.
We shy away from labels on the show, but I do think that they're useful, or it's at least useful to come, like if I'm talking to John, right, he says he doesn't go to church. I think it's important that if we have a conversation about church, I let him know I attend church regularly, right? I'm stating a bias.
Right.
I'm letting you know up front, this is where I'm coming from. Now, that aside, we can still have a great discussion about the ideas, even understanding our different perspectives.
Yeah.
Too many
As
people
opposed
want
if
to
you
try
not
to act
told me
like...
that and you're chimed in, we
Well, hold
talked
on.
about it.
Too many people want to act like they are the center, right? Like, I'm right in the center. I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm right in the center. They want to act like they're the arbiter of reason. And the reality is we all have a functioning bias.
Right.
All of us do. If you can't admit that up in the front, you're in trouble to have a meaningful dialogue.
Right.
Yep. So, and just to clarify a point with the labels thing, even with your example, where I like clarifying where you're coming from is one thing, but if you said, well, I'm a Christian and you're not, right? Well, you just made a judgment on what the word Christian means.
That's right.
Right? So that's what I'm trying to avoid. Well, you're a liberal. I'm a conservative. Well, what do those terms even mean?
Yeah,
Because
the
mean
fact you're a liberal automatically gets translated as libtard, right?
Well, when
that
you
all the
own
time.
a title,
and
when
it's
you
like,
say
okay,
you are something to that,
right.
I might not be a vegan, but like if I go around telling people I'm a vegan, then I become a vegan to them being in the point of the discussion because I'm taking up
That's
that
when you
mantle.
adapt the term vegan-ish, like I have.
I love that. Yeah. I've met very
No, I'm just
Vegan-like.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah, I got you. But like I say, then people should adapt the term Christian-ish.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
that's-
well, and
Right.
that's kind of my point is that, you could say, well, I'm pro-life. Oh, cool, I'm pro-life too. And then, well, except in the case of the mother's health,
It's so great.
rape,
Right.
right? And
Yeah,
now
it's
you
so
have
great.
all your conditions that you throw onto it that I don't hold, and so now I'm going, well, you're not really pro-life. And well, it's all
I don't think
so
that
we just
you believe
avoid.
that if you don't go to church, if you don't go to church on a regular basis, that you go to hell when you die.
I think there's all kinds of things that will make us end up in hell.
Exactly. So
Apart from Jesus.
Great way to
right,
answer that
that's
in a
right,
very
yeah.
quick nutshell.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. All right, so look,
There's all kinds of ways.
Yeah,
to get
I'm
it.
feeling the pressure. I know Joe's going.
little rabbit trail, little rabbit trail.
Sorry.
All right, so Scott had a comment where he was talking about. He said also another regular on the show, regular guest, and a fellow.
Grape head.
Grape head, grandfathered in.
G2.
Hey,
G2.
great head.
He is a G2, as
He's a
we like to
G2
call
grape
it.
head.
Yeah, he's a second generation grape head. He came to the show after we had already, probably had 10, 15 under our belt, but he's been rock solid ever since then.
Nice.
So
I have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds kinky.
Yeah.
You're
he's
my
on
biggest
board.
fan.
You're a grape head. You're a grape
You're my
head.
biggest
Okay.
You're
fan.
my biggest fan.
Great head G2 loving.
So-
Like I can imagine you guys, you great head G2 loving. Like what did you just call me?
A grape head is a fan of the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're a grape head.
You're a grape
Fan
head.
of the show.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I
So.
hate the show.
I only come on to shamelessly promote my music. You guys are morons.
At least he's honest.
Shamefully murders.
Scott said, example of hindrance. If my daughter is murdered, I am going to be a lot bigger fan of vengeance and the use of tubs of acid. But outside of that situation, I understand the necessity for law and order and humanity.
Right on.
Yeah, so that's 100% it. I'm like,
Right.
I've said it on one occasion. I think we're all there. Any dad who
affects
has
you,
a
yeah.
daughter,
If you touch my kids,
Right.
like, I'm literally.
I'm going Batman.
Not even Batman. I'm going straight Joker.
I'm going dark.
Batman's nice.
I'm
Joker,
going.
yeah.
I'm going Dark Knight Batman.
Dark Knight
Right.
Batman.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting nerdy in here.
But that's a great
Nerdy in here.
That's a great segue
Nerdy.
to what we were talking about during
That's what we
the
should have
spotlight.
done.
Right. So let's bring it
Because-
back to a really
right.
hot topic.
The great point to that is that look, the passion, the outrage, the emotions you feel over the death of your own loved one, right? Why is that lessened? Because it's not your daughter, or not your son, or not your loved one, right?
Very true.
The whole point is, as we've said numerous times on the show, the basic premise to our rule of law is that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. We were made by a God who is holy, 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 and He is just, right? And that's what gives us value. That's what gives us rights. So the passion that I have over, I don't like to say it, but one of my loved ones being murdered, I ought to have for his, or yours, or yours.
And that's a totally
the rule
logical,
of law.
salient argument.
And so to that end, Scott,
So what-
I'm all about the vats of acid if somebody does something as a means of justice, not vengeance. Though that's another rabbit trail that people get on the death penalty. Hold on,
I'm sorry,
they think
we
that
always do this.
well, no, they think that vengeance, that the death penalty is vengeance, and it's really not. There's an interesting twist on the death penalty that it's actually very merciful for that person, because if you've committed a crime that is so heinous that it deserves the death penalty, the death penalty affords you paying the judgment for that crime. So now you're back square with the house, right? Now, facing judgment for something so heinous gives that criminal the opportunity to come to a reckoning with their maker, right? It's actually an act of grace.
It's an interesting opinion on that. I've never heard that opinion before. That's interesting.
See, where I would disagree with, or I wouldn't disagree with it. Where I would, where my stance is on it is not that I disagree with the death penalty because I feel it's too harsh. I do feel like it's too easy. I feel like that you can't. It's too easy of a wash off. It's like, oh, you killed somebody. Well, you killed somebody. That's eye for an eye. That's Old Testament.
But here's where I challenge you on that. Where it's not too easy is if you believe that we're food for the worms, then I'll agree with you. Then it's too. Hold on.
You gotta let me go.
I will, but I'm finishing a thought.
Okay, I got you.
If you believe we're food for the worms when we're dead, then you're right. It's over. You're dead. It's over. But if you believe that there is an eternity and there's a heaven and a hell, I promise you that it's however bad your life might be here on earth, it is multiples worse.
But you got time to prepare for that. A lot of people that don't get right with God, they don't get right with God before they die because something happens.
But that's what the death penalty affords.
A lot of people that
that's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying.
But it does afford. Okay, anytime you. Ton and time, God works in mysterious ways. I'll wrap it up, Joe. I know we got. Here we go. But a person lives their life, and they affect people in a different way. And a lot of times you see a lot of people do something wrong that they get on death penalty, and it might be somebody they're writing, or they might affect an inmate that they're with, or they might do. And like I said, I would take the life of somebody that hurt some of my loved ones. But the reason I disagree is, you take away the possibility of that person positively affecting this world in any kind of way, even in the minute, or even coming to a point to where they grow and they become someone else, and are able to do something that, like, to become that person. You're taking away any possibility that they could do.
So let's extrapolate that thought, because that was a great lead in.
I was gonna say I want to bring it back.
I'm bringing it back to Eileen, because what we wanted to talk about, right? What John just said. Not a man.
Good way.
Not a man.
That was quick.
I'm a man.
He just came me back. I realized where he was going.
Taking the value of a potential human being, right? A human life, who could be a woman or a man, right? We don't know. And here's a man standing for the life of this possible man or woman in an abortion situation, where a lot of people have abortions, a lot of women have abortions, based on well, he doesn't have good chances, right? I don't have the economic means. Like there aren't any rags to riches story in America, right?
Right.
And to what John just said,
Most of them are.
Here is a human life that has all this potential that is being wiped out. Why would a man be disqualified from having an opinion on that just because he's not a woman?
Right. No, I agree. A man should have an opinion on that. I mean, it's such a hard situation, but of course, I believe a man should have a 50% opinion on it. I'm sorry, I've had two children.
If that man is also as emotionally connected and emotionally involved in that situation.
Are you meaning like where the man's the parent?
Like,
right. If
Yeah, I'm like 50%. I don't know what you meant by 50%.
The problem is the right does not belong to the woman or the man. It belongs to that child.
Here's, I think,
exactly.
at least with the issue of abortion, I think there's there's different issues going on that get lumped together, i.e., the autonomy of a human being over their body, right? So that is one subject, right? And that subject in and of itself has debate and value in seeing different sides and arguments and that sort of thing. And then moving beyond that, you have a separate life that is indefensible, that has no capacity to defend itself, and needs any kind of external interaction with to say it's going to be determined or whether it's going to be protected, right? So these two separate arguments then get conflated to where it's like, you have no right to speak about this over here because you're not involved in this over here. But
because you're not a man or a woman.
Right. So
which doesn't enter into it at all.
Right, which doesn't enter into it at all.
Let me take a common narrative, the clump of cells narrative, right?
Right.
Well, if a woman has a clump of cells in her body that are cancerous, I'm all about that woman having the full right to decide whether she wants to have surgery to remove that or not, or how she wants to go about resolving that. That's the true clump of cells, right? But a baby in the womb is a lot more than a clump of cells.
A series of action can cause a spark and reactions throughout life, throughout the next 80 years of the person's existence. I don't see a child as being a biological thing. I see a child as being it's the idea that whatever possibilities, whatever outcome, whatever it's a spark, it's reaction,
potential.
It's a potential. So like whether it's cells forming or whether it's it's a 14-pound fetus, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that like if a series of action can be taken that can cause that to not ricochet, and that's like you can't be in a bowling match and then stop and then not give somebody their turn and then be like, okay, and then at the end of the day say that the score is fair. You didn't even let it spy. The most.
Well, I mean, coming back to the debate thing, I'm like, when I try to frame it that way to say, what are the issues at hand, right? Well, I don't have to be female to debate the subject of personal autonomy.
People feel that way, though. A lot of people.
No,
if you're not a woman, you shut the
door. A lot of women feel
like believe me, I know a lot of people hold that position. My point is that I'm trying to frame this argument to explain what are we really debating. Like, you don't want me telling you what you can and can't do with my body, right? That's autonomy, right? Self-rule, right? And the government does it every day of the week. You submit to another person telling you what to do with your body when you get in your car because you put on a seatbelt, right?
No, I don't.
Just saying.
Local popo.
Ticket worthy.
You heard it right here.
You know where to find it. Right, but you know what I'm saying?
Other, she almost got. If she was in a bad wreck where she broke her femur's lifeline, and she had if she had worn her seatbelt, she would have
killed her.
Yes. And those are rare exceptions, but nevertheless, what I'm saying is that's just an example.
I would just like to point out, I'm just lazy and I forget to put my seatbelt on. I don't have a dinger. Let's just clarify.
That's why.
Go ahead.
We need to put a dinger in the car.
She doesn't have a dinger.
So we're gonna. She does not have a dinger.
We need a GoFundMe account.
No,
I would love to see
if you give me a newer car, give me a newer car.
GoFundMe for a dinger.
And you being a woman, you cannot comment on dingers. I just want you to know.
No value.
I'm talking baseball. I mean home runs. Hold on.
I'm real.
All right. So anyway,
and I'll hear the ding, and she won't.
My point is
ding,
that
ding, and I'll be looking at her and be like, "Don't say nothing, ding." You can put your seatbelt on. I almost died. Like, okay, I can't say it. You get the right to do it. What you feel.
So my point is that in many ways, all throughout our day-to-day life, we submit to other people telling us what we can and can't do with our body, right? But for whatever reason, this becomes a highly pertinent one, right? A highly heated, contested one.
Sex with robots.
Right? Sex with robots, yeah. So, anyway, my point is that to then try to clarify what the real argument is. We all want to have control over our bodies, and we don't like when other people tell us what to do with our bodies. At the end of the day, that's what the argument is, right? And last time I checked, I have a body, right? So I can relate to the idea that I don't want other people telling me what to do with my body.
But
right?
you've
So
never been pregnant.
And so then, now
knowledge.
the second part of that people forget about is the being inside you, and it really comes down to whether it's a life or not. That's the big debate is, at what point is it a life?
Well, there's no doubt it's a life. Is it a separate person?
Does it qualify as for personhood?
And that's the kicker for me.
So, and their protection under the law. Right. So anyway, that's where I'm like, in all of those arguments, like, I am a person, and I have studied what it means to be a person as a psychology major, as a bunch of different things. I have
there
lots
you go,
of,
giving yourself all of that credit.
Right. So listen,
you have
so
that
I'm saying,
experience.
So I'm pointing out that in having this conversation, I do have lots of different ways I can relate to, even experientially, having that debate. So
you're saying that you do need the experience?
No, I'm saying even when they try even when the arguments try to phrase that you're not a female, therefore you can't make this argument, I'm saying even using your argument and saying that I need to have personal experience in order to address this subject, I'm like, the first part is personal autonomy. I'm a person. So even with your argument that I have to have experience, I'm a person, I have experience being a person, so therefore I can make the argument. Moving to the second part of the argument, is it a life, right? What does that mean? Does it have personhood? I'm a psych major. I've studied the law about what personhood says. So I have experience, again, in that subject. So even using that person's argument that I have to have experience in order to have the debate, I say I still qualify.
Right.
But you're dropping the mic on this. You're like, I got this. Okay.
But then you're encouraging what we talked about at the beginning. Do you need experience?
Right.
To have an opinion or to debate or to have a discussion? You're saying, I have an experience. It's not the experience you think I have, because I'm not a woman, but I have this other experience, so yes, you need experience.
So to clarify, my first part of the answer is to say, no, I don't have to have experience. I can be objective and reasonable without experience.
Right.
However, opening your eyes to the idea that what you think is experience, right, and what qualifies you for the argument, you probably haven't considered that people have valid experience that you are disqualifying immediately. It's male-female. You're not female, therefore you can't talk about, right? But let's look at the argument from a bunch of different ways, and now it turns out you actually have a lot of experience.
But your psych experience is really generic, so
but
you can apply
you're assassin him. I think that's.
I am assassin him.
A little bit, but here's the thing. One of the many examples to blow up that narrative about that is like let's say, and I know there's dark examples, and I don't like envisioning these scenarios, but the woman who says you can't have an opinion on an abortion because you're a man, right, and you can't understand what it is to be a woman, I'm sure would have no problem if I were walking down through a park and I encountered that woman being raped. If I said to her, I can't understand what it is to be raped, I'm not a woman, so I'm just going to bow out of this exchange here, right? I'm sure she'd much rather.
I can't really have an opinion,
right? Yeah, I'm sure she'd much rather me express my opinion with a 44. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. No,
right.
That didn't go any. I mean, I agree with what you just said. It didn't go anything with what I was saying a second ago, but it's okay.
No, I know you're picking on him, but I wanted to get
no, but
that.
I think I was. I mean, I was picking on him, yes, but I was also being a little bit valid.
It's convenient
in that
to say you don't know what it's like to be a woman.
Yeah, because it's self-interest.
Right.
Like first opportunity for real disagreement here, so let's let her have it.
I, of course, first of all, I'd like to state that I do agree with what we've all been saying up to this point. But what you were just saying, that I'm not a woman, so I can't form an opinion, is wrong, but I am a psych major and I can form that opinion. So you're saying that the opinion the person is accusing you of not having, and then whatever the word was you said a minute ago, for not having, is true, but I have this other opinion, and therefore I can form an. I mean, I'm sorry, I have this other experience, and I can form an opinion.
I don't think that
So,
he.
but
it's actually not the argument I was making.
that's not. I don't think that's what he's saying, and I'm not trying to.
Okay,
defend.
then I'm completely misinterpreting what
Let
you
me
said.
say this.
That's okay.
He was.
Remember what I said
That's
earlier?
why you repeat stuff back,
Yeah.
and you
Right.
did a great job. So.
Thanks.
Remember what I was saying earlier about qualifying your bias, about
Right.
stating what your perspective is, where you're coming from. I think that's
Right.
what he's saying. He's saying, I don't have experience in this, but I have experience in this, right?
Which is
so here's what I'm sharing
He's
with you.
covering all
Right.
grounds.
That's all.
It's
Of
like
course.
He's not.
and you and
now,
you.
if he was saying, I have this experience, therefore I'm more qualified than you, then
Right.
he'd be guilty of what
Yeah.
we're.
Yeah,
Right,
which
but-
is not what I'm saying.
But
Right.
what you're saying is that you haven't experienced in something, therefore
So-
you can form an opinion.
So-
earlier you
I'm
had
gonna bring it
stated.
around.
So my point was, it's a two-part argument, right? And the first part is critical.
Those
The
are
first
so
part,
complex.
the first part is to say, I do not have to have experience in order to debate a subject. That's my opening statement.
Right.
Then to follow that statement up, I say, but even if
felt
you
that
want
needed.
to insist that I have to have experience, let me open your eyes to the idea that experience plays out in a lot of different ways. And you are being very narrow because it fits your argument in what you call experience.
Right.
Right? That's my point.
That's what I was speaking to with that
So-
example.
Right.
So-
Well, then it would be important to note that your first statement
Yes.
loses credibility without your second statement.
Yeah, that's what I said. The
Absolutely.
two,
Yeah,
the,
Right.
the two go together. That's
Right.
Two
Right.
essential
yeah.
parts.
Yes,
Right.
they're two essential parts to one argument. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was.
It started out as me picking on you, and then it turned into, wait a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
A couple glasses in, that happens, you know?
Yeah, I love it.
Totally okay.
She
Okay,
gets kind
so
of plunky, huh?
I got a little
look,
No, I
frisky.
do wanna
You haven't
clarify
opened that
something.
whiskey yet, I'm just saying.
I do want to clarify real quick, though, what we were talking about as far as opinions and emotion objectifying other belief. I am, everything that I've said, I'm still...
I don't mean any of it.
I'm still, no. Everything that I've said and how I personally feel, I'm still pro-choice.
Sorry, I didn't kick you.
And that being said, I'm pro-choice because I don't believe that it's right, but in this country, it's free. There's a lot of people that look at me and like, they look. I'm glad that in this country that we're allowed to do. We have the freedoms to do that. I don't agree that it's right, and between God and my Maker, I don't think that's wrong. But I'm glad that somebody can look at me and say, I don't think that he should be able to own this, this, and this. Just because they feel that way, they can come in and take me. This is the land of where I don't think that you should have the right to burn a flag or to be able to do a lot of things, but this is the place where, unfortunately,
Hey.
you're uncensored. This is
I will
America.
tell you, I'm the most pro-choice person you will ever meet. I'm for every human being to have the choice to make of their life what they will, right, and do with their life what they will. I just happen to think that the child inside you is a person.
I do too,
and
has
therefore,
that same right.
and therefore has that same right.
I do not feel it's right, and I personally feel that way. But as far as like the laws and legalities of it, I believe okay, I
But
can't.
it's turned into an abortion
Okay.
show,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
wasn't the
Well,
topic.
but I'm going to challenge you on that one thought that you just gave, okay? Because if you extrapolate out the basis of that argument, you can morally abdicate every position, right? I'm not personally for a mugger robbing someone on the back alley.
I would never break into a house and steal stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would never practice home invasion, but I'm not going to pass judgment on those that do. There gets to be a point where the moral arguments impale themselves; they fall to pieces. If you're killing another
just have a
per-
lawless-
hold
you
on,
just have a
hold
lawless
on.
society.
I
Well,
want
speaking
you to
of intentions, though,
listen. Here's the
it's
thing. Process this. This is, and I'm
intention
not.
is different though, David.
No. Hold on. It's not about intention. It's about in reality. Are you
Separate
killing
lines.
another human being? And the term murder.
very true.
The term murder is derived from, I forget what the origins of the word, and I heard the correct pronunciation. I can never say it. I'll spell it for you. It's R-A-T-S-A-C-H. I heard it spelled or pronounced on the radio today. I can't do it. I'm Texan. But the point is, it means unjustified killing. If you are saying that abortion represents justified killing, that's a hard case to make.
No, David, that's where I misrepresented myself. I don't believe that at all. I just don't believe that the way I feel personally and emotionally and the standards on it should be the standard of what we.
But that's what it boils. And I'm not trying to change your mind.
I don't make the laws.
I don't want to make this an abortion debate. I'm not trying to change your mind. What I'm pointing out is the fact that what you're now debating is whether there is objective truth. Either you are
I have
practicing.
no experience on this.
Hold on. Either you are practicing murder, or you are practicing a justified killing. There is no middle ground between those two. That's
That was so awesome. I have no experience.
I see where you were coming from when you stated that you don't make the laws. Your opinion shouldn't be the only one. But I also see where you're coming from.
You have to take there's a point where you have to take a stand.
Another person is another person.
And I'm the queen of riding fences, so you know
right.
that I'll be that way.
But that's the thing.
But
another person is another person. Whether that person is a young, I know you don't like the label millennial, but whatever. Or whether the person, whatever stage of development it is, like a lot of pro-abortionists like to cite, well, it's a fetus. Well, all they're referencing, hold on, all that's referencing is a stage of development.
Right.
That means the child's in utero. As soon as the child is outside of the uterus, it's no longer a fetus.
Right. So I think you guys are, at this point, you guys are kind of doing an apples and oranges thing. I think that you're both fruit.
We do
because
we do that.
They're both fruit.
Apples and oranges together do taste very good.
Right. Because I see where he's coming from when he says, you know, I agree. He agrees entirely from what I'm.
Yeah, personally, he agrees with
what
the position.
you're saying, but his view is that his opinion shouldn't be the only one that matters.
That's right.
But I think that at some point, a group of opinions should matter, and that's where you're coming from.
Not necessarily, but because that's the thing. Our country wasn't. No, I am not.
I'm joking.
Don't. Them's fighting words right there.
Why didn't we separate these two?
Okay, I misworded what I said.
No. It's fine because it's important to clarify that.
Right.
Because it's not about groupthink. It's not about democracy. It's not about the majority.
Breaking it down to the nut of the.
It's about the self-evident truth.
Right.
That all men are created equal. For example, even if the majority of this country agreed that slavery should be okay, that would be wrong.
Doesn't mean
our government would have the constitutional authority. That's why we are a representative republic,
not
a democracy. It's not about the majority.
That's a very valid point.
It's about the rule of law.
Right.
And the whole linchpin to the rule of law is based upon the founding on God.
Right.
But on that constitutional level, wouldn't we have our right to overthrow the government once that they don't start doing the stuff that we
do have that right? That's a whole different show.
Whole nother show.
Absolutely.
All right, so listen, guys. Listen, real quick. This it's just as a fun outro and to give a kind of a kudo to a comment. We had a really interesting comment, but it was off topic. Ash, can you throw it up there real quick? It was off topic, but it was kind of a fun question. And in the vein of, can we have an opinion on things that we don't have personal experience with? This, I think, is a perfect example. We can have an opinion on this.
I didn't get that at first, but now that you say that, I see what you go ahead. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So just as a closing, fun outro kind of a thing, and then we're going to actually just, as our outro.
What? Rate the wine and shameless plugs. I have something I got to say.
We already shamelessly plugged.
No, I have a closing.
Oh, he's got a
closing thought.
Closing thoughts, not shameless plug. Closing thought.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We can do it.
Okay.
We'll go quick.
Yeah, we got to do it quick.
Bam.
Closing thoughts on this, and then I want to go out with this while we let you play a song, and that's how
that's awesome.
That's how we'll end the show. We'll let him give his opinion. He'll pick up a guitar. Start doing a little strumming.
You get the last word and the last song.
Right.
I can't wait, guys. I'm going to be
Listen, he is very talented.
That's technical lingo. That's very.
You have to use the hands.
Yeah.
You have to watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes. All right.
So down here, but
closing thoughts on this.
What's going on?
Closing thoughts on this subject. Do we have to have experience in order to have knowledge on a subject? In order to have an opinion? To chime in, whatever you want to call it, logic, reason, do they go out of the window? What's your thoughts? John?
To have an opinion, no. That's God-given's right. You have the ability to do it, but to debate it, no. But to fully understand it, yes. You can't fully understand something unless you fully understand the emotions that you have from that situation, and you don't understand what emotions you will stem from that unless you have been through it. So that's where I stand.
I think everyone's basis for understanding is going to vary. I mean, everything boils down to a subjective experience. Yep. We all strive for objectivity, but that's still related to a subjective experience.
That's very true.
And I'll go out with this and to say that I did see a squirrel earlier, and I forgot to mention this regarding the Ugh.
Constitution.
Constitution Party. That's hard to say after your third glass.
Drinkable.
That's right. Thank you. Regarding the Constitution Party, I'm now the Harris County coordinator. If you want to get in touch with me, there's a number of ways to do that. You can personally message me on my personal page, message the Whine No Whine Show page. Joe will make sure that it gets to me.
Back
and
signal.
I also have a page called Constitutionist, Not Conservative. Okay? So
Very worth
there's-
looking up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
three way. Yeah, I'm a big constitutionist, not constitutionalist. Constitutionist. I'll share with you the distinction. But please send me a message. Let me know if you're interested, have any questions. Would love to talk to you about it. We don't need experts. We need people who care.
Very true. Closing thoughts.
Oh, we've talked about so many things.
Oh my gosh.
So
So
you know,
true.
you can't comment on one or the other. I mean, I have strong opinions on one thing, but I just go back to my original comment that every day, you know, now I didn't travel when I was younger and a mom, but now that I'm traveling, everywhere I go, people think something different. You know, everybody here thinks the world hates us, or we're going to get hated or shot just because we're going somewhere, and that's not true. So, I mean, that's my personal opinion, and not everybody travels like that. So, on the other subject, you know, a life is a life. That's how I feel about that.
All right.
Word.
Word to your
I
mother.
think
I
this
just said
was-
word. yes.
Literally. Word to your mother.
Word.
Go home, Mother's Day.
Your mom goes to
Ba-dum-bum.
Your mom goes to college.
Yeah.
I think this was
Napoleon
the
Dynamite.
most
Yes.
unorganized and crazy and ridiculous and awesome show I think I might have been on.
It was a very unusual show.
It was
was.
super
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah.
To sum up my overall topic, I don't think my opinion changed much. I think that I was enlightened on a few things, but I don't think my opinion changed much. That I don't think you need doctorate level experience to form an opinion or debate something. I think that you have to have the basic characteristic to think through and think logically and apply that logic to forming an opinion. And I think that his psych major makes him relevant to any topic. So he can say he has experience in anything because he has life experience. No.
Human understanding.
Anyway, no.
Open-mindedness.
I think open-mindedness is important too.
Yeah, I think that's a very relevant comment.
I just want to
Anyway.
say, in addition to the Harris County coordinator for the Constitution Party,
Oh my god.
I'm also the president of the Kate Davis fan club. Please, if you want to join me, please get in touch with me. This
your right
girl's
to
so
vote on the
awesome.
line.
I mean,
I
she's
lost my right to
amazing.
vote. Give me that back.
She's
She has
amazing.
no more right to vote on the
Yes.
line.
All right.
And I will just say that that
I know.
for me,
I want a psych
I love
major
the
now.
shows that
I'm just
Brown
kidding.
for me,
Brother, I'm
I
the
think
coordinator for all
that in
artistic
order to
devices for
be
rockstarjohn.com. You guys know.
in order to be objective, personal experience with something can provide another perspective. It does not necessarily make that perspective more valid, and in some instances, it can make it less valid. So it is just more data to be considered, and that's how I look at it.
That's a good way to put it.
You know. All right, so we're going to rate the wine, and then we're going to address the subject as a go out while we listen to John play.
Cool.
So, all right, wine rating.
4.5.
Really?
I liked it a
You
lot.
didn't bend it.
It wasn't too fruity. I don't like too fruity, and it was cold.
It's going to shock you. I'm going to disagree.
Oh no.
My rating on the wine was a MEH. Meh.
Meh.
Yeah,
Meh.
it is okay.
All right. The crazy thing about this wine for me is that my initial reaction is that it was very good. All right,
Is it
4
a
and a quarter,
quarter?
4.25. And here's why. My first reaction when I was first drinking, I was like, I really like this wine. I was like, I'm going to give this wine a 5. But the more I drank it, it was kind of less memorable.
I
Right?
did kind of see it off. a little bit.
And so, interestingly, I'm like, just for sitting on the patio and drinking by itself, not with a meal or anything else, I think it'd be a great wine because it's just kind of it just kind of is smooth, it's unobtrusive, it doesn't really assault
Yeah.
you in any way.
Right.
But also, it doesn't make me go, ooh, this is interesting, or this part's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So-
I wouldn't ask, what was
so-
that? I've got to get that.
Right. So it's I would be a good wine, and I really wouldn't think about it. So for that reason, I didn't go as high. But 4 and a quarter, still for me, it was very solid.
Pretty high.
And
Solid.
it's a very solid wine. That's how I feel about it.
I go with 4 because it's very easy to drink,
Very.
and the acidity was very low. high acidic wine.
Yeah.
I just they don't agree with me, and it gives me a headache.
So she's some kind of expert, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh God.
No, I
all her
100% agree.
experience.
Wait, we're not talking
Because of all
about
her
last
wine
week.
experience.
We're not talking about last week's wine. This is only my second.
Hey, I
time.
made Alex laugh. I win.
Kate.
I agree with David. It's kind of unmemorable and kind of meh. I was really torn when I was handed this paper between 3 and 4, so I'm gonna go 3.5.
Don't tear the paper.
I didn't tear it. I flipped it
bend
around
it.
a bunch and went like this.
I was really torn about tearing the
I was
paper.
really torn about tearing the wine rating paper.
It's like 3.5.
I mean, she didn't throw it.
No.
You got my bent.
All right.
from last
So,
week.
as a fun outro here, we've never done this, but just kind of a closing thought, if you will, about a comment. And it's not on the screen.
You have to pick up your guitar.
Yeah, so grab your guitar.
Like how I yelled that behind my hand.
Rockstar John is going to give us an outro. The wine
3.85.
3.85, and I think that's a very fair rating for the wine. I think that's a very dialed in kind of rating. That's the ratings for the wine for me are a lot like the opinion.
I'm going to change my rating for the wine. No, I'm kidding. Ashley's going, shut up, David.
You're not. No, you're not.
You're not changing nothing.
I think the wine rating is much like the show in the debate aspect.
We were very
in that the after the whole conversation happens, the end product is a very on point kind of a thing.
Man, that's an awesome point. That's like the most clinkable moment right there. That was really cool.
That's 3 clinkable moments in one episode.
That's pretty good.
I think we're very cohesive in all of this. I think.
There we go.
I got
All
you
right.
covered,
We weren't
John.
argumentative enough. This wasn't a good enough show.
So, all right. So we had a fun
Next time.
comment. We had a fun comment that is once again not on the screen. It's been my daughter's been just jacking with me. She puts it on the screen. I see it, and then
Because your daughter's running like half the country right now.
and then because she wants to remind me of how much past 6 o'clock the show is, she takes it off the screen and she goes back to the time thing. So
Because you know
looks can kill.
because you know it's very important that you
man.
know time.
Right.
If looks
So
could kill.
Jordan Anderson had a really interesting question that he was posing to the show, and I actually had this kind of as a subject a while back because I love the subject of AI, and we've done all sorts of fascinating shows on the subject of AI.
Yep.
And so this is, for me, I think there's a really philosophical, deep conversation that would be a great show. I just haven't gotten people to bite on it yet. And so it's kind of fun. Jordan, I'm glad you posted this.
Well, what's cool about this too is a lot of people like myself don't know a lot about AI either. So that's
how
that's
dare
where
you
it
talk
kind of
about
ties
it.
in, right? How dare we say anything about it because we don't know nothing about AI.
Yes.
I don't have an opinion.
So we're going to get thoughts from everybody just kind of as a closing fun thing on
Oh,
this.
we are? Okay. I don't know anything about it.
That's okay. But
All right.
but
That's
no,
fine.
listen, there's a deeper you do have an opinion on this, right? There's a deeper
He just
philosophical
told me.
question. Yes, you do have an opinion. You will have an opinion, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? Listen,
Before we leave this room.
so the question is that Jordan asked, he said, what is your opinion on the growing automated industry and the potential of a future where there are far fewer jobs? If we aren't working towards 100% automation, what are we working towards? So think about it. We used to have assembly lines where people were manually putting the object together and all this kind of stuff, and it was like the most boring, mind-numbing job in the world, and all this burnout. Well, now we got robots and they're doing it all and it's flying along.
We're looking at a way to where we still keep our jobs and they do all the work.
So listen. So this is what I'm getting at. What if?
I agree with that.
What if? Imagine a future where literally every task that a human does now was capable to be done by a machine. Every task. Think about it.
Including musicianship.
Including making the
They even have
machines.
drum machines that have a
Wait a
human
minute, who's
factor.
gonna make the
right?
machine?
Yeah. So
somebody has
machines
to,
can make
somebody
machines.
has to be the brains to make those machines.
Machines can make machines, and machines can repair machines. Machines can make machines. In fact, think about it. They can not only make machines, but they can make machines even better than we do because they're more precise and less prone to error.
But error, I gotta say this is where you kill it.
So now you're talking about
some of the
creating a
greatest creative things
machine
have happened
versus
from
making
error.
the machine.
Yep.
When you
Sticky
make a
notes.
mistake,
That's the difference.
Sticky
when
notes,
you make a
yes.
mistake, that's
Yes.
when you make the beauty of it. Let's Transformers,
That's
The
the
Dark
learning
Knight. What's up,
curve.
y'all? No,
So
nerdy.
anyway, so
You
I don't
can, you
understand
make,
the point.
Hold on.
So listen, so my question is, he said if we aren't working towards 100% automation, then what are we working towards? Because that is the truth. If you look at anything that is a repetitive process in humanity, a machine eventually steps in to take over that role, right?
So what's the point of humanity?
So there we go. To me, that's the deep philosophical question. If we work towards a future, if we work towards a future to where all of the tasks were taking place, what would happen to humanity? Where would we find value?
What would be the point?
We would take them down, and we would have D-Day, and then we would be like start all over.
And it would just turn into the Matrix, and
Terminator would come true.
Machines can only do what so much was enveloped in their mind. Just like you can't explain algebra to an ant.
I know.
We can't.
It's a heavy thought.
I'm looking at the guitar right now.
I need to start this at a more sober place.
Right.
It is genuinely a heavy thought. What would humanity do, in essence, if...
What would be our point on Earth at that point?
Right.
They couldn't make that guitar that.
That's
I think
not really.
That's not true. They could.
They could.
I mean, there's
but
some mix.
let me say this. Because what
doesn't
happens is, so Joe's right. I hate it when Joe's right, but it happens all the time. He hates hearing that, dude. Look at him smile.
He likes to.
I'm laughing because
he's lying. Right.
He's lying.
No, but here's the thing. Okay, so there's the story about like these car manufacturers, or well, actually they were carriage manufacturers at the turn of the century when we had the advent of the automobile. Right? Technology always changes, and what happens is our imagination runs wild. I mean, Jules Verne had imaginations that were generations ahead of anything that was known in his time, right?
Tesla as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the point is the mind can go to places that are far beyond reality, right? So the process.
Things don't make mistakes.
The process is from where we are today to that point where we're, as Jordan explained, fully automated. It happens incrementally, right? And the point is, because we talked about this on the first anniversary show, right? That was the point I was making, is that the market that has to be served is still us. No matter how far it advances, it's got to benefit us somehow, or it's not going to be there.
Right.
Right? The question I think Jordan's asking is, can we automate ourselves out of existence?
No.
I don't see how that happens.
I think we displace one job with another. We displace one
It's going to
creativity
change
into
industries.
another.
Right.
Industries will change. Your specializations have to change. But we'll never automate ourselves out of existence because we have to survive. They don't. That's my take. Sorry, I monopolized it, didn't I? You're free to disagree.
I
if you want to be wrong.
I don't have enough experience.
He said, what are we working towards if it's not automation? If it's not...
We're working towards having our jobs to where we can have do it for us and still get
still get the benefits.
And then when it messes up, then when it needs something else, then we try and we fail, and then we make a mistake, and then in the mistake we find out
who's the it.
We fix it.
We want.
It puts the lotion on us.
Some of the greatest things that I've done in my life have been considered mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't a mistake that I had my kids, but I wasn't trying. It wasn't a mistake.
You were trying something.
It was a mistake.
Your mom is listening.
There's a lot of times in my life, I'm talking like spiritually, I've been in situations that I've grown and I've become a better person, or if I affect this world in any kind of way in a beneficial way, it's going to be because of the mistakes I made. I grow and I learn more from my mistakes than I do from the things that and when I sit down and I mess up and I fall down, and I find something. Oh, well, shit! I didn't know. And I went this whole
I know.
episode.
I just had that thought. It's okay.
I'm not
True.
gonna do it.
It's true.
No F-bombs.
No F-bombs.
That's behind you.
F-bombs. Yeah, I know. Trust me. I mean,
All
that's
right.
fine.
Let's take it home. Let's hear some music by Jon.
I got
and,
the perfect song.
Beautiful guitar, and he plays it
gorgeous.
beautifully.
That's what I've been looking at.
Time and time history has shown the answer to the greatest mystery ever known. How to rise to be greater than the greatest without making them all jealous and hate us. And the greatest never hesitate to stand alone, up for something they created on their own. They knew that the true masterpieces that would stand the test of time were the ones that were created with the morning in mind. Sometimes you find yourself in a place, standing face to face with a chance to create something bigger than yourself and the fame you chase. Call fate leading you to a path you can take. Make you change your mind about the music you made. They call it collaborate. And even muddy waters had to be shown. Vice Papa had to be a Rolling Stone. Mick Jagger had Keith, oh, and Paul had John. Even the king had his Memphis roots to stand on. How about the tune only Cash could do? Never would have heard it if he never found that ass on June. We never would have seen what a man could do and how a man could move walking on the moon. And the other 4 of the 5 didn't keep Jackson alive. Without the purple rain, there'd be no royalty. We'd have no queen if we didn't have a Mercury. I'll just admit, some people choose fate to believe in, thinking everything happens for a reason. Others think it's what we make of every situation that tries to break us. I'm somewhere stuck in the middle, believing in a reason for needing to be like seasons and change, thinking we've lost all control. So we put on a show and hope that they don't know we're the ones to blame. When the good die young for no reason, God becomes something we don't believe in. And everything that gives us strength to fight is just a waste of our time. Yeah, we all die. And does it matter at all if there's no purpose? Is it worth it if there's nothing to gain? Like climbing a ladder just to fall back to the bottom where we started. It gets harder to take. All these strangers seem to live forever while my friends die young. There's no fear in danger, like next to clear time allows not up to us. And I don't wanna watch my life pass me by. I wanna do more than survive. And I want more from my life. Wanna sing, wanna love, wanna dance. The ones who can't, that had to say goodbye. It wasn't in their plans, it's just their time. Yeah, I want more from my life. When I say goodbye, it'll be alright. Because I know that I live my life and I got the most. The ones I love that I leave behind will be alright. They'll know with my time. And I did more than just get by. And what I leave behind when I go, it'll show with my time that I thrive.
Yeah. That's the Whine Show. We'll be back Thursday next week. And to all the moms out there, my wife included.
Happy Mother's Day,
Happy
Mom.
Mother's Day, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day, Crystal.
Happy Mother's Day.
Love you both.
There you go. We'll
John.
be back Thursday. We're out.
Chime in.
Huh?
You better say Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, I'm holding on for you. Hold on. I love you, Mom.
Hey, I think my mom might have tuned into this episode.
I got something special for
So
you.
if so, Happy Mom's Day.
Mama Kate?
Big shout out to the greatest mom I've ever known.
Happy Mother's Day, Mama Kate.
Not yet.
No,
Yeah.
not this Mama Kate. Her Mama
And
Kate.
much, and much love, and much
You had it
love to you,
backwards.
Miss
Kate's
Stephanie
mama.
Jane.
Kate's mama.
All right.
Yeah, all right.
You got some crazy thug life
We'll-
kids, and I love
We'll
you
see you
every
guys
day,
next
You're
Thursday.
amazing.
Be sure to support the sponsors of the show. Show them some love. Give them shout outs, all that sort of thing. If you'd like to be on the show, hop
Guys, www.rockstarjohn.com. Show some love. I'm giving my free stuff out. I'm sorry I'm shamelessly plugging. I write a lot of music. It's up for free. Just come check it out, please.
He's got a passion.
It sucks.
There we go.
Like, everybody, I don't have 400
Passion
people
is
come
good.
up. 400 people come
You
up and be
just
like, I
thought
love
this
your
was your
stuff.
show.
And I get 2 Facebook friend requests. I'm like, come on, guys.
Welcome to the
Hey,
Jon
that was me.
Turnbow
That was me.
Show.
No, I've seen you. I've seen you. I
That was me.
appreciate it. I've seen you. Show some
Listen,
love.
guys, we're out. If you want to be on the show, click on the Book Now button. Grab a spot right now. The seats are booking into middle of July.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
it's
Fastest
It
growing
took me
show.
like 2
Yeah,
months
it
to get on the
is.
show on purpose.
Yeah.
I fill in all the time, but when I wanted to be on purpose, it took me
That's
like 2
because
months.
of your sass.
Maybe.
All those spots are
Attitude.
filled by Joe.
Yeah,
I know.
And
No,
not
I-
Kate.
I had to cancel. I canceled on
Not
him. My girl
Kate.
broke her foot like on the way out. She broke her foot. I canceled on him, and you'd have thought like I was walking into Godfather. Like I had Harley on every. I literally was walking out. My girl breaks her foot, and then he was like, "You got to talk to the Joe," you know, like. And I was like, you know,
Listen, Joe's not going to be
yeah.
about you checking in so late and not being on the show.
They expect you to come through. You come to on the
All right,
day.
so wrapping up this thing,
I was
I
so-
gotta go.
You're gonna make them off, they can't
We're out.
refuse.
We're